All right, let's dive in. Today we are unpacking a really powerful mental model for understanding our own emotional pain. It comes from this incredibly raw, philosophical conversation, and it's a simple metaphor that gives a profound insight into why we get stuck and maybe, just maybe, how we can get out.
So, it all starts with this question that, let's be honest, every single one of us has asked at some point, especially after something tough, like a breakup or a huge setback. Why do we get trapped in these cycles of sadness? You know, one minute you feel like you're doing okay, and the next, boom, you're right back where you started. And this quote from the source just hits the nail on the head. The moment you become unconscious, you can start crying over the same thing again. Just think about that. You can logically know a situation is over, you can feel clear-headed about it. But then a song comes on the radio or you smell a certain perfume and it just pulls you under. You're suddenly reliving all that pain like it's happening for the very first time.
Okay, so if drifting into this unconscious state is the problem, what's the solution? Well, the conversation uncovered this really powerful antidote, the simple act of conscious observation. See, there's a huge difference between being lost in your pain and analytically looking at it.
And here's the fascinating discovery they made. They realized that when they were actively talking about a painful problem, really dissecting it, analyzing it, the actual suffering just vanished. In that moment, it was gone. The facts of the situation hadn't changed at all, but their relationship to the pain did.
So let's just break this down. When you're in that unconscious state, you're just reacting. You're lost in memories, and you feel the full force of that pain. But when you shift to a conscious state, you start observing. You see things clearly, and like they said, the suffering just disappears. It's not about ignoring the pain, it's about fundamentally changing your perspective on it.
To really make this idea stick, they came up with this brilliant metaphor. Just imagine that your mind has two different boxes, and you can be in one or the other at any given time. First up, you've got the black box. This is that state of unconscious suffering. And here's the kicker. It's not a place you're sent to. It's a prison that you weave yourself, thread by painful thread. And when you're inside, your emotions completely distort your view of everything.
So what does it feel like in there? Well, they describe it as suffocating. You feel totally trapped. And what do we do when we feel trapped? We try to escape. We look for any distraction we can find. You get these wild emotional swings, and you just can't see your situation for what it really is.
They shared this really powerful example of a senior executive who, after a terrible breakup, just threw himself into making money. He bought all these luxury cars, looked super successful on the outside, but it was all just an escape. He was trying to paper over the wound from inside the black box, but the wound itself, it never healed.
But then there's the other box, the transparent box, and this represents your conscious mind. It's a state of total clarity, objectivity, and peace. And they argue this is your true home base, your natural state. When you're inside the transparent box, you can look at all your problems with total objectivity. It's kind of like you're watching a movie about somebody else. You're detached from all that emotional charge, and that distance allows for real insight, for those aha moments. And in that space, there's this profound sense of peace, because the suffering, it's just gone.
Okay, so this is the crucial question, right? How do we actually get out of that suffocating black box and into the clear, transparent box? Well, the conversation offered a really practical and honestly pretty counterintuitive strategy for making that journey.
So most of us try the wrong way first. We fight our thoughts. We try to force them out, to just stop thinking about it. But that just gives them more power, doesn't it? The right way, they argue, is to stop fighting and instead introduce something new and meaningful into your life, a higher purpose. You don't remove the old, you replace it. And the old thoughts, they just fade away because you're not giving them any attention.
I absolutely love this analogy from the source because it makes it all so clear. The idea isn't to just quit your painful thoughts and sit there. The goal is to take up a higher work, something more meaningful. And when you're focused on that, the lesser work, all those painful thoughts, they just get left behind naturally. You don't have to force them out.
And all of this, it leads to what is, for me, the most profound revelation from the entire conversation. It's about the true origin of the black box and what it says about who we really are.
Just let this sink in for a second. The black box, that state of suffering, it isn't your natural habitat. It's not some pre-existing dungeon you fall into. It is something that you and the world around you have constructed over time.
So what's it made of?
Well, they identified the raw materials. It's woven from your biology, from social learning, from the way you were parented, from all your past experiences, and all the belief systems you've picked up along the way. It's a mix of nature and nurture, basically.
And this is the key takeaway. Your true default state is clarity. It's the transparent box. You were born there. Life is what weaves the black box around you. So the journey back isn't about adding new skills or knowledge. It's about unlearning. It's about dismantling that self-woven prison to get back to where you started.
This final quote just captures that idea perfectly. The path to peace isn't about piling more information into your brain. It's about having the courage to remove the beliefs, the patterns, and the assumptions that are keeping you trapped in the dark.
So, as we close this out, I want to leave you with this final thought. If this prison of suffering is something that was woven, thread by thread, that means it can also be unwoven. The question for you is, looking at the story of your own life, which thread are you going to pull first?